Greetings and salutations, everyone. It's time once again for another road lease taken video here. Again, I'm going to just step in because they're shooting me in the back and I don't like it. Again, I just want to remind everybody, this is a little bit of a misnomer in the fact that I do actually know the Veil Quest pretty well. I'm a big fan of the Veil Quests. I know a lot of people don't like them, but I'm one of those weird people, I guess. One of those weird people. So this quest is probably the hardest of all of them. I feel like that's a fair statement. Glow balls are bad men. They are bad men. If you don't have an appropriate DR beater, they can be very tough. If you don't have access to trip, they can be very tough, or like a really strong dancing ball. Or an earthquake, some sort of crowd control type effect like that. They can really tear you up very fast. Look at that, they're hitting, even on Reaper 1, they hit for almost 200 points of light damage. So in this case, like I said, I danced them with the dancing ball, and then I also went ahead and fired off my my fuselage to knock down that first fight. That first fight often sets the tone for the dungeon, in my opinion. It's not just Evile as their damage reduction. I don't have a crossbow built, or I would I'd whip that crossbow out. But there's a metal type as well as negative energy. So normally, if I'm on a melee, I pretty much have what I call a glow ball beater, just for this quest. Of not every single weapon type, but I have quite a few put together that I use. I haven't needed them so much recently because of the way the quests, again, with Sharn coming out, and the way Sharn does a really good job of like giving you the XP you need to get to level 20. So I have not been as reliant upon the Veil quests as I have been in the past. But yeah, these are still good quests, but yeah, it's some sort of meddling. I can't remember what, or some sort of metal. The wiki would know. The DDO wiki. Alright. This little fight up here is another area. It's not silver. It's like cold iron or one of those like slightly less used metals. So this fight up here can be really tricky. Especially if you're like a caster. These glow balls in particular, again, can get real nasty, but there's a Gaily Cleric up there that'll cast a Mass Death Ward, and that Mass Death Ward is actually very kind of challenging for a lot of people, especially if you're like me and you do a lot of like Finger of Death action or Circle of Death action, stuff like that. Alright, I'm gonna try to do something that I don't do very often. In fact, I pretty much, have I ever done this before? I honestly don't know if I've ever done this before, but we're gonna give it a shot. So there's a spot, if you see right there, right? So if you can jump up and boost forward, you can feather fall up here and pull these two levers without having to engage all the way around.
Pulling the lever starts a chain reaction of grinding gears, opening the door to the west.
Okay. Again, that's a little trick that you can use if you have your Scooty Booties or any sort of abundant leap-esque effect. We're going to go ahead and clear this tunnel out appropriately low so people can see. Again, that fight gets really kind of complicated. All these glow balls really add a lot of difficulty to the quest because they hit so hard and they heal each other really well. It could be Bascus, but again, I'd have to look it up, Titan. What is good against Black Abishai? That's I honestly don't know if there is anything in particular that's great against Black Abishai. I will say that I used my cold rune arm crossbows against them, and I felt like I was fine for the most part. But I did take quite a bit of extra damage, and they are a little bit, like I said, they are tough. Personally, I feel like that of the various Abishai, the Black Abishais are probably like the second easiest to kill, maybe. Personally, I feel like the Electric Abishais are the hardest. Alright, we're going to throw a... Get out of here. Alright, when these elementals come around this hallway, 2 invisible stalkers also spawn down below. And those, in my experience, those 2 invisible stalkers will make their way up here and kind of come out of nowhere land. I don't see them right now, or can't target them right now, but they are down there. And because we jumped through here, we didn't have to deal with this guy before, but this is the guardian of these levers. Again, I believe that stuff spawns when the air elementals come around the corner. Right, pull the lever, jump down, bam. Alright, so now we've covered both ways to kind of get through that part of the quest. Alright, so this is how I like to do it. There's your Gaily Cleric. There's this invisible stalkers as well. Go in, cast our kill 'em effect. See if we get anybody. We gotta knock out these. I guess they're Twilight Stalkers, not invisible stalkers. Sorry. See if we happen to get lucky and knock out any guys. But you want to just stay. It looks like we got at least one with that circle of death. But you want to kind of keep this. In my experience, especially if you're not a melee with like a super high trip DC or anything like that, you want to kind of play, duck around the pillars and stuff. Because again, the Brayleys can cast nasty things on you. Any glow ball can cast nasty things. You can take a lot of DPS or a lot of damage really quickly if you're not moving around wisely. Again, trip, dance, any of those kind of like crowd control type effects can really make a big difference. I'm gonna Death Ward on, or not Death Ward, Circle of Death on him, even though he's immune, but he was surrounded by people. So by targeting him, who stuck his head out around the corner, we were able to actually kill some of his junk followers there. Speaking of the junk followers and stuff, this guy is immune to damage when he's in his little elemental form, and sometimes a little bit after, so give him a minute. He and all of his junk followers have multiple forms. Get you? Nope. None. Got none of them. Just got hit for 400 points of light damage. Nobody else, when they're in the other forms, just don't take damage, though. Only the red names. Same thing, we're going to get close enough to cast Circle of Death. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Glorious. Oh, even better. All 3. Doesn't get much better than that, folks. Alright, Gaily and a Blari, or whatever you say his name. Down this hallway is more shenanigans. Go in there and finger death that one. Clean it up. Clean it up. Oh man, our Our insta-kill spells are just landing like crazy today. I'm loving it. Your alt account character clicked on a door in the city and now he's somewhere in limbo. There's been a lot of like interesting, off into far reaches of DDO land things happening since this last update. It's pretty cool.
The sound of claws scraping earth is heard to the northwest as the devils continue.
Alright, don't jump in this room. Okay? There are... Oh, never mind. I guess it didn't matter. It was already targeted. But you saw those guys run around the corner there. If you don't jump in here, typically they won't come around this corner and automatically just start aggroing on you. Looks like, however, I must have jumped or got high. Anyway, so now I get to deal with all of this mess at once. This is fine. Lots of big circles. Again, always with the Gaelies first. Oh, I did jump, didn't I? That was my mistake. Try not to jump in this room, or otherwise you won't be able to piecemeal out this fight. If you do not jump, however, there'll be like 4 guys here, and then you can actually clear it before these guys start coming down this door, or the staircase. I'm gonna put a heal on me before my purple ball poops up. Like this guy. See how he just stood there, distracted? Not caring. Just living his best life. Alright, speaking of best life. What?
The bridge to the west is raised. Find a way to
Again, Death Ward on.
rescue.
Around this corner is usually a pretty nasty fight, but those guys, I believe, were at least some of those guys are the guys who saw us. So it's not going to be nearly as bad as it could have been. Had a couple of these glow balls. I think there's still a couple up here. It's like the Gaelies from up here came down, though, because it's really the Gaelies, in my opinion, are the ones that are the tough ones to deal with. Alright, so we have Paladin that we can't insta-kill, but then he's surrounded by stuff that we can. So again, I like to, if you have instant access to Circle of Death, I like throwing a Circle of Death on him to get the rest of the trash. Otherwise, focus down that cleric first. The first thing that a lot of the Gaely clerics will do is cast Mass Death Ward. And once there's a Mass Death Ward, then obviously things become much harder to insta-kill. Okay. Circle is clean. Bridge is down, so you could head off to the infight. However, there's also a pretty popular optional this direction. So this is the devil's part, right? Like, I know I kind of glossed over that portion of the story, but what has happened is for all the Gaelies, we look like a devil. Okay? And then for the devils, no, we don't. We obviously don't smell like devils. But we look like devils, so. And orthons and other kind of monsters. So we're running with the devils. However, that also signifies that the camp here, or the prison in this case, is being overran by devils, which is why we got the name of the quest, Running with the Devils. But you can go down here and you can clean up a lot of these devils. Plague Reaper. Another Plague Reaper. The strategy back in the day when all you could do this quest on was Elite was actually to run everything down here to this guy, because this guy can actually also be insta-killed, and run like one Wail of the Banshee down here at the end way back, where Wail of the Banshee didn't have like a number of people killed limit. They it just killed off of a radius. So you could actually kill whole dungeons with monsters just surrounding you. Them's were the days. Oh, think back fondly of all the times we killed a whole dungeon, before Red Alert. Like a whole dungeon would be aggroed around you, and just like reach over there and hit your, the Banshee button, and everything would die. It makes me sad. All right, let's see. Yeah, we're just heading back to the bridge, or heading to the bridge now. Off to the end fight. Again, you don't have to do that optional, and normally I would not, because it's not worth the experience for time ratio. But every once in a while you do it for nostalgia. Alright, we're gonna cast our various buffs. Knock out Galeys, because they're the opposite of evil, but they're evil. Alright, so now, this was their first, real DPS destined video. Knocking out this guy is actually very tough. He moves around, he heals himself really good, he does a lot of damage. This was the first, real DPS testing video. Now he's not so much a pushover, but he is much easier to knock out than he used to be. See that little bit of life that you had right there used to be a ton. Another question for both Sam and the chat: what would you choose, greater cleave or two-handed weapon? Whenever possible, I like to take cleave. However, you'd have to look at what the strike through does now. Strike through is such a big change. It's hard for me to kind of answer that. I've not got an opportunity to play a new strike through character yet. Alright. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to talk about this quest the way that it used to be ran, and then we'll probably adapt a little bit. So what you used to do is you would hide back here in this room and kind of deal with these monsters one at a time by pulling them back into that room. Again, that was a different time, a different age. Nowadays, we don't really worry about that much like that anymore. Let's fire off these. For these monsters, the only one that is insta-killable is the cleric right there, which we just did. Back up and get healed really fast. But again, now with there's just so much damage and damage reduction and stuff like that. Why these guys are still pretty painful. They're not as painful as the equivalent in the new quests. New quests are much more dangerous. There we go. Yes, I know what you're talking about, Titan. There we go. Right. So that's the quest here in general. By the way, there is a rest shrine, but not a resurrection shrine right there. So if you get to the point where you need a shrine, you should do that before you activate that invite. Alright everybody, well that was Running with the Devils. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please interact with the video in some way for me. I'd really appreciate it. And don't forget you can join us live at twitch.tv/SamusGarobo most weekdays. Alright everybody, hope you have a great time. We'll see you later. Toodles.